Welcome back to another episode of Cobra Kai Companion. And I am Peter. And on the other side of the screen, dealing flowers off someone's bushes. I don't know. It's Watch Party. How are you doing, sir?
I'm good. You sprung this on me a minute. You could say I'm rattled.
You are rattled. Yes, we are here finally today to knock out another one of these episode reviews as we near the conclusion of our episode breakdowns for
Hmm.
the entire series.
Oh,
You have something huge coming up. There's a few of us here that kind of been keeping the ear close to the ground, I guess, or something. But how are things going on your end in terms of like we're weeks away from your big wedding day.
yes, we are. It's gotten to the point. I've been really busy, but I almost feel like I'm getting to the point where I'm gonna have less to do. Like I think at least for a few weeks, because most of the big stuff of the planning and preparation are done. So just like make up a program and fiance party's got stuff to do. She's gonna pick flowers and stuff like that. But I let her do that. So but I think it's been a busy couple of months, but
I'm gonna ask you
yeah.
what I asked Tanner. Well, what are some of the biggest decisions? Like, are you guys if you're willing to reveal, like a theme, music choices, or what has been some of the most difficult things you guys are coming across?
Um well, I mean difficult. I'm not sure if anything specifically is difficult. I'm trying to think. Well, like at least for me, fiance party's having trouble. Like she's like going back and forth on flowers. It took her a while to like find a dress. There was a lot of stuff for her. For me, um,
Are you wearing a t-shirt tuxedo?
almost. Oh, no. And it took me a couple tries to find what I wanted for like the groomsmen.
Nice.
So that is, but music choices. There may be some familiar songs if you are a fan of The Karate Kid
Ooh,
or The Big
okay.
Three. There may be some familiars like The Reception.
Hell
Um,
yeah.
um, so there'll be some stuff like that in the music selection. I
So
picked it.
you're basically playing Johnny's badass playlist.
Yeah,
Season
yeah, that.
season four.
In fact, that's the name of it. The whole reception.
Nice, nice.
So I will say though, for the first dance, the song for the first dance, fiance party actually picked a song. She had a song she wanted, and unbeknownst to her, and I mentioned this to her, there is a connection to, let's say, Counterbalance Entertainment. So
Let's see, first dance, and you say counterbalance. Immediately I go to obliterated. Um, I don't think I'll be able to guess it, just because like they've produced several movies as well.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
there is.
Okay, okay. Well, I'm sure I won't get it, so I won't even try guessing.
That's quite all right.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks for sharing that little bit. I know you like to keep things private, but I thought it'd be a little fun to kind of ask you a few things just because this was a wedding centric episode. We had an actual wedding in here.
It
Um,
is. It's on theme. How clever of you,
it
Peter.
is. Yep. Thank you very much. It took me, several weeks to think of that.
Yes,
Um,
this is why it took so long for this
it
episode.
did. It really did. Watch my. I'm really stuck on like this joke here. I'm missing
Only
something.
we can get Ron Thomas to marry us.
That's it. That's it. Let's see, updates in terms of the Cobra Kai world. I'm sure if you were looking forward to the Karate Kid Legends movie, you know when that's coming out, the end of May. There was recently a plethora of announcements coming out of Washington Summer Comic Con in Puyallup, Washington.
Mm.
That's kind of yeah. I don't know. It's not too far off of like high five, like heading towards Seattle. For those that are would be commuting, by car, flying. You can probably fly into. I don't know if Tacoma would be closest, but like if you're looking to go, there's going to be a really big turnout in terms of the legacy actors. You got Martin Kove and Yuji Okamoto, and then for the younger castmates, you got Mary, Tanner, um, Jacob, Peyton, and for the first time, you have Raina Vallandigham. I think
Hmm.
it's kind of. I was almost there. I think Vallandigham. And then also Brandon H. Lee, who plays
Yeah, so
Quan,
Brandon.
and Patrick
Hmm.
Lewis, who plays Axel. So that's a pretty good turnout. I know several people are like, and if we could just get like either Ralph or Billy, like that's going to be it for me, and I'll definitely go. But I think that's still a pretty good turnout nonetheless. And I think this is Raina's first one, so there you go.
Probably, yeah.
Um, yeah, Jacob. I don't know if I said Jacob, but yeah, Jacob and Peyton. But Jacob and Sholo will be at the Motor City Comic Con in Detroit. I don't have that date readily available, but if that's something close to you, yeah, just take a look at when Comic Con is. But yeah, this is going to be the year. The Creations Entertainment Salute to Cobra Kai is also coming up. The end of this month and the end of May here. So I need to go to. Oh, and I don't think he'd mind if I shared this, but Mike, aka Cobra Kai Wisdom, will be going to that event in New Jersey. So look him up when you get there. There you go.
Oh, Cobra Kai Con.
Yeah, the Cobra Kai Con. Yep, yep, yep. Are you
Hmm.
considering, or what's your side? You still not uh it's still not your thing going to any of these?
Well, isn't it at the end of this month? Or
It is. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah.
I'm probably going to be on my honeymoon.
There you go.
And I
Tahiti.
suggested to her, "Do you want to go to Cobra Kai Con for the honeymoon?" And she
Yeah.
said, "Honey, that was the 1 year anniversary."
Yeah.
I,
Yeah. But Tahiti, that's not the honeymoon destination, is it? Okinawa, maybe.
close.
Yeah. Exciting stuff. Exciting stuff. Okay. All right. Now in the interim, but since we did last review, let me see, well, episode 11, Into
I
the
love it.
Fire. I put out a few interviews out. Any of them
Mhm.
you particularly recommend? I feel like you had a good time with the Brett Ernst and Dana
Oh
Duke.
yeah, that was like the most fun. Definitely recommend that one.
Yeah, yeah. It's separate points. Brett Ernst says, "I hate you, Peter," and then like later on, Dana Duke goes, "Like Peter, shut the fuck up." So they were. I had a good time. I had a good time. I know. I think some people are like, "Man," they were a little, a little rough with you. I go, they're stand-up comedians, and like that's honestly like I didn't expect anything less. So,
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
yeah, I had a good time speaking with the two of them. I went back and listened to it like a second time, and it was just as funny. So,
Hmm.
you check that out. And Chris Rafferty's someone I've been trying to get ever since part one of season six. I did not know he had not done interviews before, at least a podcast interview, and a very extensive one, that one, and learned quite a lot about his episodes, a lot of inside baseball thing. Did you get a chance
Th
to hear that
that
one?
that one I haven't listened to yet.
Okay,
I'll probably get it
so
tomorrow actually. But the
there's
one with Kyle was good.
which is this episode we'll be discussing, and I
Yeah,
thought
right. Hmm.
yeah, so some of those little nuggets there. There's one thing Chris that came up during Chris's interview that I thought was really funny. I asked him to talk about the table saw, and he was basically like, "Wow, I never thought I would have had to explain this." But here we go. Like it was very inside baseball, so he does talk about that detail, why that
There you go.
that is in there. So it wasn't like, oh, let's see if we can fool them into thinking one of these guys is going to lose a hand. And so it definitely wasn't that. So that you can cross that theory out. So and always, Amy provides the synopsis for this episode. She writes, the gang prepares for the Sekai Tekai reboot in a montage with a Gunther voiceover explaining that because of the tragedy, they'll have even more eyes on them than before. Because once a kid accidentally kills himself on live television, your ratings are guaranteed to go through the roof. He's telling this
Mhm.
to the All Valley board, not yet realizing that they're a bunch of dysfunctional idiots They're less they're less concerned with a seamless transition from Barcelona to the Valley and more concerned with the color of the mats and vegan meal options.
Mm.
Daryl soon learns that he hasn't just lost his beloved blue mats, but he's also lost his MC duties to Gunther. Then he gets kicked in the face. It's a whole thing. Don't worry about it too hard. The Biter brothers have created a virtual reality program involving old laser tag gear that will apparently teach Robbie how to best fight back against Axel. It's all very silly. It doesn't go especially well, but Miguel channels Sensei Lawrence and gives Robbie the tough love pep talk that goes much further than play fighting over ever could. Sam and Tori also trained together, reigniting their friendship, bonding over a shared desire to take down Zara and talking about the future. Daniel and Amanda are heading out for a relaxing afternoon of wine tasting in Ojai, but happened by Miyagi-Do. Gee. Daniel and Amanda are heading out for a relaxing afternoon of wine tasting in Ojai, but happened by Miyagi-Do, just as
Sounds like
chosen
they
is
went to Miyagi-Do.
okay.
What happened to
uh,
buy Miyagi-Do?
Just as Chosen is receiving a certified letter from Kumiko, politely declining his declarations of love on paper. The LaRussos agree that they can't leave him behind because Daniel has seen the kind of Long Island iced tea reality television bender this guy can go on.
Mm.
Just an aside, I forgot where it was, which doesn't matter, but somebody asked me what would I like to drink, and I asked for Long Island iced tea in honor of Chosen. Um,
Two? One for each
no,
fist?
just one. No, no,
Oh, well, it's
yeah.
only half honor then.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, yeah. I don't have as much honor as Jones. Let's see here. Long Island ST, reality television bender this guy can go on. So they take him along and decide to set him up with Moon's crunchy mom, Winnie. Now, well, what does that mean? Because Amanda says that too. Oh, she's into that Miyagi-Do crunchy balance stuff or whatever. Like she also uses the term crunchy.
I'm actually not really sure.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, mom's
I guess I'm not
crunchy
into
or
crunchy, which is
Moon's.
why I'm unfamiliar with the terminology. Um,
Okay, I'm gonna have to look into that. Chosen spends the entire afternoon being unnecessarily rude and dismissive to her at every turn. But she takes it in stride and sees that there's something bothering him that has nothing to do with her, crystals, and new age beliefs. They bond over a shared love of Storage Wars, and she reads his tarot cards, informing him that two people close to him will die. I think that's the other thing that threw me off. Is like close to him, So that's just loose translation that like okay, two people that you know of, so I
yeah,
really thought that like
when I guess we'll bring that up when we discuss it.
okay.
Um, yeah.
Yeah. Over in Reseda, Rosa has put the literal fear of God into Johnny, letting him know that neither she nor the guy above are cool with unwed people bringing babies into the world, so he heads
Mhm.
over to see Bobby for guidance. Bobby assures him that God doesn't care and that Johnny and Carmen being loving parents is what matters. God isn't going to smite them. Johnny tells him that he's been planning
But
to ask Carmen to marry him, but it's never at the right time. Sometimes you think you're going to propose to your girlfriend, you wind up in a near fight to the death with a bunch of dudes in a crazy billionaire's lair, and it just doesn't work out. Johnny needs everything to be perfect, but Bobby reminds him that life isn't always perfect. That doesn't keep him from trying, though. He steals some flowers, takes a cooking class, hires some musicians, and visits a tailor, all in the span of a couple of hours, apparently. And he's ready to propose, but the baby has different plans and Carmen goes into labor. Chosen Winnie may wind up having a good time, but Daniel and Amanda are spiraling over Winnie's casual mention of how poorly she handled, excuse me, Moon's older sibling going off to college. Is sinking in that Sam's considering going far, far away from Encino, and 3 bottles of wine later, they're ready to root their entire lives to follow her around the world. Totally normal stuff. They would likely still be in Ojai, but they get a text that the baby's coming and Uber their way to the hospital. The Johnny Lawrence extended family all assembles for a bedside wedding in spite of the fact that several of them were over an hour away when the news came in. Time and space mean nothing in the valley. Johnny
Yeah,
proposes.
it's like 2 hours, almost 2.5 hour drive, but they get there.
Well,
They drove fast, you know.
what if it's Uber Black? Like they may have had,
Yeah, yeah.
not even that, huh?
Mhm.
Johnny proposes, Carmen accepts, string instruments play Take My Breath Away, and everybody cries. The baby gives them enough time to say, I do, before demanding attention, and everyone gets kicked out so baby Laura can enter the world. There is so much happiness in that hospital room. Oh, that was a
Mhm.
really sweet one. I really like
Very
that. That's the
nice,
way she
very
ended that.
nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. All right, so let's get into this episode's review. We are discussing episode 12 of season 6, Rattled. This was written by Ashley Darnell and Kyle Savali and directed by one William Zabka.
Hmm.
So, first and last episode on the Cobra Kai series. Watch Party, what did you think about this episode in general and also as part of the final five?
I think it's a feel good episode. You know, it just leaves you feeling happy the way it ends. And isn't that what we all want? Isn't that what we all need from our entertainment now to feel
Yes.
happy? But yeah, it's I think yeah, really good feel good. Good stuff with Chosen. It really, shows off Yuji's acting. I really like that. And I like the storyline too. And then of course, like it's classic Johnny, peak Johnny, however you want to call it. And we're really wrapping up and closing out, a big part of Johnny's story. Obviously, is like the main one of the main characters. The in the show, he's got a few conclusions because he's got multiple things. Like this is wrapping up his kind of like
Personal
personal life
life. Yeah.
storyline. Yeah, like and yeah, so it's really like a huge almost conclusion episode, and it ends on a happy note, which is why we're feeling good. I think when I first watched it, streamed, I actually applauded. Like I wasn't like a crying. Oh, I cried. No, I was like happy. I cheered. I'm happy for him. You know.
Yeah, 100%. I think my initial watch, I thought this was my favorite episode of the last five. And
Mm,
I think over time it kind of morphed into episode 13. So I think 13 is my favorite of the last five. Just because of not only the dialogue, but just the acting, from
hmm
Billy, from Martin
hmm
Cove. Just a lot of great stuff that happens in there. I love the dream sequence with Daniel and how
Right. Yeah. Hmm.
yeah, Ralph performs
But
in that
that's the
sequence.
next recap.
Yeah, yeah,
Let's.
we'll get there. Sorry. Just so excited to talk about Cobra Kai again. We've both been
I
so
know.
busy the last few weeks
Yeah.
here. Um, yeah, so I think this is a real like you said, it's a feel good episode. It wraps up well, not necessarily wraps up per se, but it does. This is going to be the last time we see some of these characters in a big way.
Mhm.
Yaya, right? Like this is going to be
Right.
her last kind of meaningful sequences before we see her for the last time, like at the Sekatekai in kind of short bits. And
Mhm.
Amanda, this is probably the most we get until we see her in the finale. And
Mhm.
the binary senseis, I guess that's what we're calling them in this episode. Um, yeah, and we're also kind of setting up what's to come, with like
Mhm.
the whole Axel VR or AR, whichever you want to use.
Mhm.
I think they actually say VR. So, yeah, this one was really good, and I guess we'll get into it and kind of give our thoughts along the way.
Mhm.
All right, so here we go. We gotta go all the way up here. We open up on Gunther visiting the All Valley Committee, trying to get the Sakai Takai back on. Pretty much like anytime we see the All Valley Committee, like we're having a good time.
Mhm.
Um, we learn here that it's been about a month since basically the last episode because Gunther says like it's been a month since the decision has been made, for this to come back on, and they were basically holding out for Daniel.
Right.
What kind of read did you get on Sue and Gavin's face when Daryl questions Gunther? What do you mean when you raised the microphone? I mean, we
On
know that
Sue
that's
specifically, I
yeah,
don't remember her, but I definitely get, from Daryl, he's very territorial,
yeah.
That's kind of his thing. And
It's
here's Gunther's is gonna some what German guy gonna come in and take the mic from him? No way.
right, right. I could because I was like, is it? We know it's Daryl's thing, but has this happened before where they're like, "Ooh, you don't want to mess with Daryl. Like that's you don't know what you're getting yourself
Oh,
into."
I don't think I
Yeah.
think no one even considered it before, you know.
Okay.
It's
Yeah. There's a lot going on here. Like I think another thing to remember because I spoke to Kyle about this. I was a little kind of like, hey, how come there's like this dynamic between Gunther and the committee, and basically
Oh,
he wants
I
to work.
always knew this was going to happen. Like ever since 508, right? When we were
Uh,
introduced to Gunther in the Sakai Tech High board, I was like, there's going to be a showdown between like the Sakai Tech High board and the All Valley board. You just don't have two karate boards and not
right.
have some sort of conflict. Now, it just got narrowed down to Gunther himself. And I was kind of hoping for a challenge with Ron. Um, Fortunately, he's not there, but we
Right.
got Daryl instead. But like I knew, like I because I know like specifically John always talked about how much he loved the All Valley board. Like
Yeah.
it was just fun writing for him and performing. Like and I just knew he wouldn't be able to couldn't resist like having basically exactly what we got. This they're arguing over details, turf battles and everything. It gets into a physical fight in the hallway.
Yeah, oh yeah. I just love Keith Arthur Bolden in this sequence who plays Daryl. Another thing to kind of remember is that Gunther is a former competitor too. So
Right.
he's basically like had enough of their shit, and he's like, let's handle this the old way. And I just love the quick cut, and like already we missed like I don't know if it's minutes, seconds, but everyone's standing up, and Daryl's got his hands up, like I'm not even sure what was going. So like he's already like standing up and just kind of going through with the motion because everyone else is. I just love that. And then after he gets that foot to the face, Gavin's like, Daryl, are you alive? So I like that last button that he had there. We go to the back of Miyagi-Do. We see Chosen doing a little gardening, and we find out that Daniel and Amanda are planning a trip to, is it Ojai? I was
Oh,
just
hi,
reading
yeah.
the subtitles. Yeah, Ojai.
Yeah.
Where is that? I'm assuming.
It's like 30 minutes from Santa Barbara. It's
Okay.
more inland from the coast. Like you drive inland,
Mm.
and it's up like kind of like in well, in not in the mountains, but like over the hills and stuff.
Right, right. I think it would have been a little much if they decided to go to like Cayman Winery or whatever. The call back to like episode 401, but then
Yeah,
like Terry Silver also goes there, I think,
that's probably up
so,
in wine country, so it's a bit
right.
further of a drive. But yeah.
Sure, sure. We get a call back to the Karate Kid Part 2 with the mailman here, and we get a little bit of sad news about Kumiko, who did get Chosen's message late due to like the phone company issues. Do you kind of remember back to like 509, right? Yeah, 509.
509 when he
Yeah,
leaves the message. Yeah.
that leaves a message. Do you remember what you thought might be the I don't know if outcome's the right word, but like did you have a guess of what that may lead to? Him leaving the message and her not getting it right away.
I mean, it was obvious at the time in season five, like they're doing it like that, obviously to just leave it up and they can decide later,
Mm,
essentially, which I think they more or less talked about. They were had different ideas on how to wrap up, Chosen's storyline. You're asking like, did I know they would resolve it like this? Like,
yeah, well, like okay,
well,
so
I guess I mean I did think we would get Kumiko again. I thought maybe she
right.
would come to the valley. I think and maybe they would have liked that, but I know budget and time were becoming real big factors in these last five episodes. Yeah, I mean, so I didn't think it would just be resolved in a note like this. Like I did think we would get at least Kumiko one more time.
Right. And that's kind of the other thing that a lot of people don't really think about, right? Like they are still they get the budget of like a 30-minute show,
Hmm.
30-minute episode show, and so they have to be really economical with their spending. Johnny didn't have a big wedding, it was done in the hospital, so we're not going to get. Tamlin Tomita for like a sequence in the hospital. That makes zero sense. Unless they write it, so that it makes sense. But and like every season they've had like a kind of like a fun guest cameo. This season we got Elizabeth Berkley. Last season we had, oh gosh, it's been so long. Oh well, we had several like UFC fighters that were part of the Fist. Um, Gosh, and I'm blanking on Miguel's father's name, but he's like a big soap star in
Oh,
Mexico
right.
too, So
Yeah.
yeah, but yeah, every season we've had somebody, so it was nice to see Elizabeth Berkley. Well, I'm jumping a little bit ahead here, but this is also where we learn about like Moon's mother.
Hmm.
And I'm also assuming Taylor's her last name, so we get kind of a bit of a reveal.
Hmm.
Um, and Daniel does tell Amanda kind of what happened with Chosen and the drinking back in Barcelona. And this is the reason that they take him along as opposed to leaving him home alone watching like reality shows. But I don't know. I think he would have been fine. I mean, Amanda even says like, wow, that was what does she say? Like kind of a more, not mature, but a evolved response. The way he just kind of accepted it. That Kumiko's heart lies somewhere else.
Yeah, but he was internalizing it. Like, you know, clearly he was like, not letting it out. Evolved response.
Right. Yeah.
But
I
yeah, and Daniel's because Daniel's like, I don't buy it, right?
Right,
So
right.
because she's like, oh, maybe that was mature, but like Daniel, who knows Chosen a little bit better.
Right. He was like, you weren't there,
Yeah.
yeah. He went
Mhm.
on a bender and all that. Um,
Right.
yeah, I do remember the very first time I watched this episode. And, for those that haven't checked out YouTube video, there's the first watch reaction that I did. They really got me with that first line when Chosen turns around, he goes, "Oh, she says she loves me," and I'm like, "Hell yeah," or something like that. And he's like, "As a friend," I'm like, "Damn," So it was like I was really living it in the moment, second by second there. So yeah, it was really really well done. They really got me with that one.
Mhm.
Let's see here. We cut to you have anything else about the backyard?
Um, no, it's pretty yeah, I think we covered it, obviously the callback to Karate Kid 2 and everything. So yeah, yeah. So I think that's it. I did forget we should have mentioned back in the All Valley board there
Uh-huh.
Gunther made him bring back the red mats because
Ah,
obviously,
yes,
yeah, it's just sort of an important point, you know.
yes. Yep.
I
And
think it's so you can't see blood.
I think you're right. I think you're right. And if we're being honest, like it's the classic red mats, like if we're gonna go back to like 83, 84, we gotta bring those mats back. Blue looked
Hmm.
great, but it was
Hmm.
like, um, yeah, there's just something about that red that pops a little bit better.
Yeah.
You know?
Hmm.
Let's see. We cut to Johnny and Carmen and Yaya, and they're packing and getting ready for the baby. We get this little story from Johnny about his mom being called Lucky Laura with the what is it that tool that changes the tire that
Oh, the uh tire wrench, isn't that what it's called?
yeah,
Tire
yeah,
wrench?
sure, yeah, we'll go
Uh,
with that. I am not a handy guy when it comes to cars.
tire
Um,
iron, tire iron, maybe.
Tire iron.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was wondering, but yeah, tire iron and something about like her skating to the hospital or something. I kind of misremember, um, but the Lucky Laura thing here, I think it's a I don't know. I at first I thought it was like kind of reminding us that that's Johnny's mom's
Johnny's
name.
mom's
So
name. Yeah, I
right,
think
but
that was part of it. Yeah.
it is. But then like she says it again at the end. But I guess maybe it's to like anybody that isn't that doesn't know. Maybe to like your Sam and Miguel might know. Sam and who else was chosen may not know.
Hmm.
So something like that. But
Right.
um, I think that's pretty much it. No, so there's the part where like doesn't he bring up Amanda and then
Right,
she's like
right. As a potential name for the baby. So we're also learning they haven't decided on a name yet. But then Carmen's like, you really want to name your daughter after your
Ko-sensei,
Co-sensei's
yeah.
wife.
Now, do you think that that he's a little just a little nervous with the baby coming? Do you think that's it? That he just kind of forgot that, because I think him and his Amanda's relationship has that it's gotten a little bit stronger, right? Like they work together now as well, and he's the one that Amanda calls when Daniel got his ass kicked by Silver in season 5, right?
Hmm.
So yeah, I just thought it was a little interesting that he just kind of forgot about good old Mandy, from work. Um, let's see, we go back to Miyagi-Do. Hawk and Dimitri are just
Whoa,
arriving.
hold on, wait,
Yeah,
you
yeah, yeah.
forgot Rosa.
Oh
That
yes,
she
Bastarda.
yeah.
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
but
Yeah,
well, yeah, she kind of kicks Johnny into gear here, because Rosa's very religious and wants to make sure Johnny does it right, and the baby comes into a, how do you say, married household. No bastarda.
sure. Yeah, yeah. Not out of wedlock.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Hmm.
Yeah, the funny thing, I don't even have that on my notes. That's crazy. But yeah, that's kind of the catalyst for like
Hmm.
everything that's just about to happen
Right,
with those.
right.
Yeah, with him.
Mom,
Yeah.
mom knows best, right? So
Yes,
there you go.
she does. And so yeah, just more. We haven't got much of Carmen or Yaya in
Hmm.
parts 1 and 2. So this was really nice. But I was just like, oh wow, she's going there. Okay, this is
Hmm.
interesting. Um, we go back to no, we go to Miyagi-Do. This is the front this time, so I guess everyone may have left by this time. Hawk and Dimitri, they're just arriving, and I did notice that everyone's kind of calling each other senseis. The kids, that is. Did you pick up on that?
Um, I did not
Yeah,
actually.
so Hawk and Dimitri, they're like, oh yeah, so something binary senseis, and then jumping ahead a little bit when Miguel's giving Robbie that talk, like I think that scene kind of ends with like yes sensei, and then with the Tori and Sam, same thing. Sam says it to Tori, yes, sensei.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was kind of interesting. Like all the kids are like kind of referring themselves as like senseis here. And the senseis are like not even really with the kids at all this episode until Johnny with his two sons in the
Hmm.
finale. So or the final moments there. So
Yeah.
yeah, this is something I picked up. Um, let's see, Hawk did not get into MIT, but he did Caltech. And it would have
Hmm.
been his first choice if Dimitri had gone too. And Dimitri has a little bit of a look on his face if you don't blink. And then Miguel and Robbie show up for training. I do love how Hawk. Sorry, I accidentally hit mute.
Oh,
I don't
sorry.
know. Did I say Hawk? Did
You
I?
said I do love how Hawk, and then I
Okay,
was
there we
like,
go.
Hawk what? Hawk what?
Sorry, accidentally hit mute. I was just like, why is my mic? Anyway, he says Sekai Takai like Gunther. So I love that. I don't know if that's a like a Jacob decision or it was written that way, but that was pretty cool. Anything I missed on that one? Just I think it was
Um,
pretty brief.
yeah, they're kind of wrapping up the MIT Caltech stuff, essentially,
Right.
is the way I take it. That's basically what I got from this little intro here.
Yeah. We see Tori coming home from grocery shopping and sees that Sam is waiting for her. Sam wants to train, but Tori says she quit. And
Hmm.
Sam says, that means I will advance and I will have to face who. And yeah, Tori basically says that, she des I keep mixing up the Zara. There we go. Um,
So, mm,
yeah, if anybody that needs to get her ass beat, it's her. And then I think Sam kind of entices her a little bit, but like, this is gonna be the last chance for you to, kick me in the face, if we train together, kind of thing.
mhm,
It almost kind of reminded me of episode 301 when Daniel goes to see Johnny at his apartment.
mhm.
Different situations, obviously, but it just reminded me of that a little bit. We go to the winery and we're in the middle of some wine tasting. I do love how Amanda questions Daniel because he mentions like, oh, there's like a hint of huckleberry. She's like, what does huckleberry even taste like? I don't know that myself, you know? Um,
At like gift shops, especially in national parks, like I think I bought a huckleberry syrup once, like as a gift
Interesting.
for my mom, as like just like a souvenir, because they have all this huckleberry stuff, and that's a good question. What does it taste? I'm trying to remember
Oh, you didn't get
some
one for yourself to
sort of
taste?
some sort of berry like thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
A berry that huts.
yeah. There you go. Like a character from a classic American novel or something. I guess
Yeah.
I don't know.
Sometimes I get messages from people. So if you guys are listening and you have a good comp for a the taste of a huckleberry, please let us know. Yeah, I like to find out. Elizabeth Berkley as Winnie. Did you recognize her immediately? I kind of forget your reaction. I know I did listen to your entire live
You
stream.
did. Well, I got thrown off a little bit um from Amanda's line, and even when I was rewatching this to take my notes, like it caught me again. Like even though when I knew it, because like she's introducing her to Chosen, and the way she words it is so weird because she says like she goes or like her daughter goes with to school with Sam, like I forget, like and Moon or something like that. And the way the line is written, the first time I heard it, I thought they were referring to Yasmin because I thought she said her daughter goes to school with Sam and her friend Moon. Like
Mm,
meaning, well, who's the third person? Like it's Sam and Moon, then their daughter. Like so, I thought it was Yasmin's mom, and it was so weird because like the way she's acting, it's like, well, that's not Yasmin's mom. And anyway, I just like sometimes you just mishear a line a little bit like in the moment and you're just a little bit thrown off because I was a little confused originally because I thought what she said was her daughter goes to school with Sam and her friend Moon. And
right.
so whatever, I was confused, but I get it now. That
Yeah.
was my first take.
This entire meeting is awkward. She seems to be, quote unquote, privy to I'll just kind of make it a little bit more broad, but the Asian culture, crystals and I mean, I don't know if crystals is like exclusive to Asian, but some of these things that like it's kind
Hmm.
of a little bit directed at Chosen, as in like, hey, maybe they could bond over this thing because like, oh, he's Japanese and I'm into like some of these things, and according
Oh,
to yeah,
yeah. Or I
um,
was like,
yeah,
because yeah, I'm looking back at what I wrote here, and like she comes off as the type. There's a type of American when they meet someone from another country, they start talking about their like they don't already know.
oh,
Like so,
like
she's like saying to Chosen to spot, like, did you know about this stuff? Like, and he's like,
no, I did not know,
yeah, like
or
like
Chosen.
she's
Did you
saying
know
it to him.
Chosen means yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's just like she's telling him about his own culture, like he doesn't already know, and at least I know that can be an American thing.
Yeah,
Um,
this is kind of like a step up in terms of cringiness from like Daniel questioning Kyler where his parents are from, right?
mhm.
Like it's almost like that, like a very similar DNA in that aspect.
Yeah, because Daniel, I think it was just sort of like an honest, because especially in his situation, he was talking about Mr. Miyagi right in that moment.
Right,
But
right.
like for yeah, in this, it's just like you can almost empathize with Chosen here a little bit.
Right. She mentions a Reiki treatment, and it's kind of like Kyle Savali, co-writer of the episode. He does kind of give like a loose explanation of what it is, but he did credit Yuji giving that suggestion as inputting that in. What he
Mhm.
did not have an answer for is whether or not Yuji felt it was that Yuji's belief or Chosen's. So I would like to think like Chosen's just like everything's bullshit. Like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I do like that little addition. Winnie also shares her experience when Sage leaves, and that starts to kind of you can see Amanda and Daniel's face that like that they're really starting to kind of think like, oh man, we're not going to be able to speak to her anymore. And so yeah, these are
Mhm.
starting to snowball for those two.
Yeah.
Just yeah, coming to terms with Sam leaving here. Uh, my other note is Winnie and Moon like mother like daughter. So I do wonder if
Mhm.
she still partakes in the medicinal marijuana. I mean, we don't know if
I
it's
would
actually
assume so.
medicinal,
She
but
gives it to Moon for her
yeah,
birthday, so.
Yeah, see, there we go. So a Cobra walks into a church, and that Cobra is Johnny, and he's paying Bobby a visit. Always nice to see Sensei Ron Thomas back.
Hmm.
And again, just referencing Kyle's interview, he didn't remember if it was Billy or Ron, but one of them suggested that maybe Bobby says "Honey on the Rain" at the end there. And
Yeah,
so,
I think he said it was Ron.
okay, and I
Like
like
that
that
was like his
too.
own. Yeah.
Because like with cause so originally it was written that Johnny was like he remembers at the end, and I don't think it would actually say that like, oh, Bobby has kind of moved on from the past,
Hmm.
but I do like with Bobby saying it, it's like, oh, he possibly still thinks about that night, because we're gonna find out from Johnny later that like those girls were wild and one of them was a freak. So yeah, that was a lot of fun. um Johnny shares that he was going to propose, and then what did he say? Like he fought off like,
got got tanked by five ninjas, I
there
think.
we go. And then his buddy got sliced up 70 stitches or something.
Yeah.
And then obviously the Sekai Tech guy and the death of Kwan. So, um, and I do like how they get into this discussion. Like Johnny. Bobby asks Johnny, "When's the last time was anything perfect?" And he almost like
Hmm.
immediately, like, "Oh, the '83 All Valley. That's the last time everything was perfect." He had the girl, he had the victory, he
Hmm.
had the red mats, you know, he had all his friends in black. I'm assuming, with the big cobra on the back. So
Hmm.
yeah, good times really. And let's see. Yeah, the two girls. And the only other note I have is I really do like Bobby's quote that he gives him. And I think it is a very similar quote that um when he's gonna give Chosen a little bit later, and I'll say that when we get there as well. But also this I feel kind of goes back to um kind of Dimitri's like you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, right? So don't sleep on your happiness, take the leap. So, just kind of like going all in, right? I think that's a version
Hmm.
of just going all in. Um, so any other
Yeah.
notes with these two?
Yeah, I mean, I like this scene too. I just what I wrote in here. It's a really good scene. I think I wrote. I thought it might have. I would have liked if just Johnny had mentioned Rosa was the one nudging him. Um, I guess because like they're definitely Catholic, and I think the implication is Johnny does is too, even though like a as they would call a lapsed, because he that's why he's always calling um Bobby a priest and stuff because it's just like the way he thinks.
Right.
Um, and I was like, yeah, what did I write here? Hold on. This is going to be more like, okay, yeah, because Bobby's like, he's like, oh, God won't punish you. Although it's not really, if Rosa is like a Catholic, it wouldn't really be the Catholic thing. There would be God. It's not that God will punish you, God will forgive you if you ask. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's sort of like the reverse. That was just something that stuck out to me. Because it's certainly what Bobby's like his preaching is something, but like because Rosa was the one pushing it all, and so like that's not necessarily what she would believe.
Yeah.
But either way, like yeah, the advice, I wrote like perfect is the enemy of good. I think like or something, you can't wait for things to be perfect, and so it's like you just gotta move through and just make it happen. So like yeah, that's like and it is right. It is like a good advice just for all areas of life. And
But
I'm
that
admired that what was that?
no, I was about to say that almost sounds like some Johnny Wisdom from season two. With the cement truck training and stuff.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Right. Just
very
keep moving
similar.
forward, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
just keep moving
Hmm.
forward. It is. And it's kind of interesting that you mentioned that because it's like, they're together, they learn together, and it's like you can even see them giving their own advice to each other, like back to
Yeah.
each other
Kind of
and
reminding
such.
each other
Yeah.
again, like, hey,
Hmm.
we did, kind of follow these rules, these mantras
Hmm.
back in the day, and
Yeah.
not all of it was bad, right? Like we're
Hmm.
gonna obviously see like Cobra Kai can be good. So
Hmm. Yeah.
um
I,
I
I have
did,
one
yeah.
I have
Uh-huh.
one more
Go ahead.
note. like I think about the two girls, was it Tanya and Lorraine?
Yes.
Um, yeah. So my now theory is, um, those girls were at the '84 All Valley, right? And
Uh-huh.
had Bobby won, or at
Okay.
least like taken a respectable second, they totally would have been hooking up with him again. But because he got disqualified, they were turned off and ditched him. And this is why Bobby hates Kreese. Because Bobby didn't just get disqualified, he wasn't able to again hook up with Tanya and Lorraine that night in '84. So that is now my working theory.
And maybe it could have applied to Johnny as well, and he wasn't doing so well, and one of them calls him a cream puff during the match.
Oh, I think it's a male that cream puff
Oh,
though.
Johnny, you're a cream puff. Oof, is it?
I
Mm.
thought it is.
Oh gosh, no, oh, we don't look so good. Let's remember. Anyway, we'll just move on. The other note I had was I do like how like Johnny's a little, I don't know if embarrassed is the right word, but when he first kind of comes in and mentions about the man upstairs or whatnot, and he's just like shh, keep it down. There's like
It's
almost
funny,
all
yeah.
there's like nobody there. But yeah, just the fact that like somebody else might overhear. But yeah, he asked for like a confession box too. It's like no, dude, like we're friends. Like you could just hit me up. Because I was also wondering, like, this isn't that big of a deal, but I was like, oh, does like because Bobby's like, oh, she's like do any day now, right? And so I'm like, well, when's the last time they talked? Because like he must have found out from Johnny. I don't know if Johnny's really posting things on Facebook. Ron Thomas is liking it, like, oh hell yeah, that's badass, you know. But yeah. Let's see. We go to Miyagi-Do, and Hawk is hooking Robbie up to a bunch of 90s looking gaming wear. Um, and I just love seeing Patrick Lewis as Axel acting like Miguel. That's probably some of my biggest laugh out moments is just
Mhm.
Patrick Lewis is just having a lot of fun. And I am definitely going to try to meet him in Washington here in a couple months. Um,
Sounds
Robbie
like you're
was,
going.
yes, I haven't bought the tickets yet is the thing.
Hmm. Hmm.
Because my daughter has like a dance recital on the Saturday. I can't go on the Friday, so it would have to
Ooh,
be Sunday.
Sunday. Hmm.
It's going to be a really busy weekend. And so, with what is that, eight of them? I think there's eight, and Sundays are usually shorter in terms of like the run time. So yeah, if I can
Yeah.
get there at the very beginning, hoping that by the third day the lines have died down, hopefully should be able to hit everybody. So
Hmm.
yeah, if you guys are planning to go to Washington's Summer Comic Con, give me a follow on social media and let's link up. Um, let's see. Robbie was unable to block Miguel's kick. And the only other note I had was setting up how tough an opponent Axel is. In hindsight, like I picked up, I'm like, because, um, yeah, like Robbie is formidable himself. He should be able to take on someone like an Axel. But since he's not doing so well, in the future episodes, we will see, like, oh, damn, like if Robbie couldn't do it, how's Miguel gonna fare? But this is about Robbie right now. You have any other notes?
Yeah, it is. If you actually think about it, it's kind of flipping the script on Miyagi-Do.
Yeah.
Miyagi-Do is always the low tech training, out in nature, just the low tech, and now we're bringing in VR, combat simulator,
Right.
everything.
Yeah.
It's the exact opposite. So now we're going into the high tech training. Just an interesting little take on that. Definitely, I agree with you about like the acting and
Yeah.
uh what did maybe my favorite part of the scene though is I kind of like the music here, the
Okay. Yeah.
electronic rendition of the Binary Brothers song.
Yeah.
Yeah, so and the music is actually maybe even my favorite part of the scene.
Yeah, it does remind me of, some of the score from Real Genius as well. I just rewatched it
It
like not too
probably
long
is,
ago.
yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. And so I do like that little influence. We're obviously going to
Hmm.
get a reference to Real Genius in the finale, but we did, me and Calzavali, talked about that. These guys going to Caltech, and there's that whole story that inspired the film Real Genius.
Hmm.
And at Paley Fest, if you guys didn't listen to that episode with all the interviews, Gianni did. I asked him like, what would an episode of the Binary Brothers look like? And he said like, oh, robots and like underground like Fight Club, something like that. And so
Yeah,
I do
he's
love
like
that.
it was like Fight Club at
Yeah.
Caltech, but then
Yeah.
maybe with robots. I actually liked it. Like that
Yeah.
answer. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
I could go with that. Like a
Absolutely.
them
And so
running a
like
Fight Club. Like yeah.
right. So we know they're smart, and I just love that we're actually getting to see
Hmm.
them like build stuff. Like before it was like
Hmm.
a Lego model or something, right? I don't
Right.
know if we actually seen Hawk build anything. Like off the bat, I don't recall.
The sparring deck.
Okay, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. He took
Yeah.
apart the fence and yeah.
Hmm.
So so but yeah, and so it's just kind of like we don't see enough of their combined brains
Hmm.
at work here. And yeah, we'll see how that kind of goes here as we go through the episode. Sam and Tori they go to the All Valley Arena and they reminisce a little bit about hitting each other the last time they were there. Very brief. Anything else you wrote down?
Um, the only thing I wrote is I admit when I saw it in the trailer, I thought that was like
Oh,
the end, like the end of their
right.
story, episode 15, but it was not. It was not. I was wrong. I get them
Yeah.
wrong occasionally.
Just sometimes. Let's see, back to Daniel and Amanda at the winery. And I think I've already mentioned this to you, but you caught the cameo. I don't know what the actual title is. I don't know the difference between a bar back and a bartender and somebody that serves wine. So the person that is serving
Well,
Amanda and Daniel, you
yeah,
recognize?
yeah,
Yeah.
the bartender. A bar back would be like the guy, like almost like the busboy or something. I think
Okay.
like
Okay.
someone like taking the dishes, doing stuff like sort of like the secondary stuff like that.
Oh, the reason I barback is I don't know if it's really in my vernacular, but I didn't know what a barback was up until like maybe 2 weeks ago. I just
Oh, it
started.
just came up.
Well, I randomly started watching Cheers for the very first time, and I'm in season 2 now.
I guess you're on a binge modes.
Ish. Like I may watch like one episode a night, and the next day I might watch like 3 or 4 episodes. Because like you talked about Frasier because you were watching that reboot, and I know that's
Yes.
I know it's a spin-off, and I know it's
Yeah.
a beloved character,
It's
all of
it's a
that stuff.
it's a spin-off of a spin-off now
Yeah,
of yeah, I mean the
right.
reboot was, yeah. And by the
So
way, it's worth noting, I'm gonna just jump this in. I actually did skip a note on the first Ohio scene. I have written, I think Daniel wants to be like Fraser Crane. I actually
oh,
had that note here, so now you're
actually,
bringing Fraser
that's
up.
hilarious.
Yeah.
It's simpatico.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just, super tangent here. I was listening to Smartless as I do, and
Hmm.
Sean Hayes. They were talking about Jimmy Burrows, the legendary James Burrows, who's directed, Taxi, Will and Grace, Friends,
Hmm.
Cheers,
Hmm.
and all these. But he Sean Hayes mentioned his book, and so I
Hmm.
checked out the audiobook of James Burrows, and he had like two chapters dedicated to Cheers. It basically talked about like the history, and I was like, well, that sounds very interesting. Like I knew about the Sam and Diane,
Hmm.
and but that was basically it. And because I'm a mailman, people ask me about, oh, what do you think about that Cliff character on Cheers? I'm like, I don't know much about him. I didn't know he was like the,
Yeah.
kind of like the bar know-it-all. So I just on a whim, I was just like, I'm gonna just watch the first episode. I'm like, hey, that's a good ass pilot.
Hmm.
And I just kind of kept on going for a few episodes. So there you go, guys. I
Yeah.
just started watching Cheers. But look at
Not
that.
well. Now you're committed because now you got to watch all Cheers. You're gonna have to watch all Frasier,
It's already
and
11
then move into the
seasons.
new Frasier. You're just committed now.
The only Frasier I've seen are the Cheers cameos. I went to
Really?
YouTube. Yeah, because I heard about them. So I just went to YouTube
Yeah.
and just typed in like, Norm cameo on
Mhm.
Frasier,
Oh
Diane.
yeah, yeah. I
Yeah,
think
so
pretty much everyone cameoed at least once.
it was all good. Yeah, it
I've
was a good
I've
time.
seen more Frasier than Cheers. So
Yeah, there we go. So I all that to remind you about that last note that you skipped over. Um,
yeah.
so let's see here. Luan Thomas, yes, is the
Yes.
cameo, writer producer of the show. Um, Winnie Story, Winnie Story. Ah, wait. Why do I say that? Winnie. I think
She's
this
doing
note meant
tarot
to go
card.
back. Yeah, well, Winnie's story is getting to them. Is she still talking? I don't think. I think because it was kind of going back and forth. But
Mhm.
yeah, in front of Luan Thomas, they're talking about Winnie's story, and
Oh right.
Amanda is
Okay.
starting to flip out a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what I meant there. And then we go to Chosen, who tells Winnie it's not her fault because, like she's kind of getting like these vibes from him. And I think he acknowledges, like, "Oh, you know what? I haven't been so kind to this, like, perfectly fine woman." And so he's like, "Hey, yeah, I just got some news. It wasn't so great. They brought me out here because they didn't want me to sit at home, watch like, a bunch of like junk reality shows.
Specifically,
And
Storage Wars. That's
yes,
the
and that this is not her fault. So, hey, evolved resolution or
yeah.
whatever response,
Did you
But
ever watch Storage Wars?
I've seen some Storage Wars, but not enough to know
Oh,
any of
I've
the.
seen quite a bit of it. Like I even get
Oh,
they have references in here, like where he's like goes, "Yup," like that was like
right.
what a guy does on that show. And
I think we may have discussed this during kind of like the what was it, the like kind of like the mail call for like the season 6 part 3, right?
oh, did
The
we?
episode.
Did
I
we?
think so, because I shared with you that I was more of a Pawn Stars guy.
Oh yeah,
If that sounds
maybe.
familiar, then I think we kind of talked about that. So yeah, because I do love that, because I appreciate a little bit of like, history and like sentimental values things, and so I like to play that game too. Like, that looks like that's about, $150, and I'd love to be wrong, and like, well, actually, this to belong to such and such, and it's actually worth like $2,000, so
Yeah.
that's a lot of fun to me.
Yeah, I liked that. I could relate to Chosen in a unique way by watching
Yeah.
Storage Wars.
Man, in Pawn Stars, I remember there was like, I forgot what it was, but I think it was a prop from Back to the Future, and the guy who had it, um, I don't want to say like he overvalued it, but he definitely didn't give it up because they were lowballing him. So I got to respect that a little
Mhm.
bit as a Back to the Future fan. Uh,
There you go.
let's see, Johnny, back at his apartment, and we get some classic Johnny Googling. Just real quick, I did have one note that Chosen and Winnie bond over reality shows, and this is what gets him to kind of buy in. Like, all right, give me a reading. Yeah.
Hmm.
So a couple of the things in this little montage, Johnny types in best proposal ideas ever. That just kind of reminded me of Stingray's of '80s is the best era ever.
Hmm.
um, Steals flowers from somebody. I'm not sure why this gentleman, maybe he was driving around and decided, hey, those look pretty. I don't know if those flowers ever show up anywhere. I don't believe they were in the house. I could be wrong. I may have missed it, but um,
They
he was
might
in a
have died while he was like doing the cooking class.
by doing the cooking
They
class.
burnt. He they caught on fire. He brought them in the
He accidentally
stove.
like spits out on the chef. There's a lot going on there in the cooking class. And is this all like one afternoon? Because like you have to find the cooking class, and like I guess you could just walk in.
Sure.
The tuxedo t-shirt was fun, you know.
Hmm.
And another cameo, Frank Helmer. Do you remember the little bit that Kyle shared about Frank's sequence here with Billy?
Oh, it was like the last thing Billy shot, right?
It was
In
many of
Atlanta.
the,
In
yeah,
Atlanta.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. It was many of the Atlanta cruise last day. And
Hmm.
so pretty emotional, as you can imagine. Frank Homer has been the costume designer since day one. He was also the costume designer for Obliterated.
Hmm.
So yeah, Frank, and what I've interviewed him 3 or 4 times, and just always has a wealth of knowledge. That last time he gave you all that little bit about the international dojos going into part two,
Oh yeah.
so
Hmm.
yeah. Let's see. Tuxedo t-shirt. Okay, back to Miyagi. Did you have any other comments about the montage? It was Zach and Leo's arrangement of canon in D major. I think that's what it's called. Um, it's also for those that like, 90s hip hop, Coolio featuring 40 Thieves, sampled it for See You When You Get There. And I think I shared this on the podcast as well. That's a song that my wife and I, we hired a harpist to play on our destination at our destination wedding, but it was on a beach, and with waves, it kind of drowns out the harp a little bit.
Ah,
So that kind of
should have
sucked.
hooked the harp up to a amplifier.
There you go. Should have done that,
Yeah.
because yeah, you could not hear the music in the footage. So a little saddened by that. It's something that, she talked about for like years. Like that's something she wanted to do, and we did it. And we're like, we can't even hear it in the videos.
That's a
Uh,
shame.
yeah.
That's a shame.
So yeah, it's a really fun sequence.
Mhm.
I do like what Kyle. said when I asked him if you could add like one more sequence into the montage, what would it be? And he said something about like Johnny looking for a venue. Like I thought that would have been pretty cool, actually.
Hmm.
Maybe even revisit like some old locations. Maybe
Yeah,
I don't know. Like I don't have a good one like some of the former dojos or something like that.
right.
Let's see. Binary senseis kind of point the blame at each other. We're back at Miyagi-Do here. They're running the
Hmm.
program. Um, Things are continuing to go bad for Robbie, and we see that the success probability has gone down to a pathetic 4%. Now, what do you think this is? Like Robbie just he's still,
The
is this?
confidence thing.
Yeah, yeah. Like, what is it though? What's up with the confidence? Is it the stuff that was from part two for the Sekai guy? Like, the stuff with Tori hasn't really quite been resolved yet as well,
I think that some of the Tory stuff is resolved. Like he's not pining over Tory the way he was in part two, but I think the after effects of kind of being behind and just knowing Axel was dominating the tournament is not getting, but is in his head.
right?
Um,
Let's see. I do like the nice touch of the energy drinks on the table there. Kind of people that are gamers. You know, I don't want to call them nerds, but like these types. We like to stay up and just we're kind of laser focused on building or producing or
yeah.
creating something, and we just want to get done. So you're always seeing several energy drinks laying around or cups of coffee or whatever. So I like that little addition. Good directing. Um, Let's see, Tori and Sam are training. We see that after the training, Sam wants to understand why Tori wants to quit. And Tori explains nothing's really gone right for her. Whenever she puts on the Cobra Kai gi, it's a little bit more than that, but that was kind of the gist of the sequence. Did you have
Mhm.
anything else to add to that?
Um, on Tori and Sam,
I almost
actually,
considered taking notes by just the groupings of the sequences and not going like scene by scene
yeah.
because like some of
Um,
these were kind of short.
No, yeah, especially like where yeah, it cuts the Tori and Sam, it's pretty short. It's almost just like reminding you it's going on.
Right.
Tori's still lost. She's been here since
Yeah, and
she
just like the
can't
thought
see.
of like putting the gi back on, like she's a little upset by it that she's having to explain, and then like she does walk away from Sam. So when we come back, it's like Sam coming to her to apologize. So like I can see why they broke that up.
Yeah, I'm trying to actually. I don't even remember. I wrote what is in front of her. She can't see it. Um,
Her new
yeah,
best
I guess
friend.
she just yeah, she's just lost. I guess.
Yeah.
She's been in Cobra Kai. I guess I meant since episode five, of this season. She's been in here and
I mean, she's also
yeah.
still grieving, you know?
Right, right,
This it that's
right.
this the loss of her mother.
Yeah.
That's
I
tough.
think yeah, and I think she doesn't have her dojo with her either.
Right.
And so in a way she is kind of alone. Because Robbie's at Miyagi-Do and it's like she's
Juan
here with
died, so she's
yeah,
surrounding around she's around
right,
death.
right. It's a tough spot for her, I guess. And that makes sense.
Yeah. We go back to the Diaz's apartment, and Johnny has decorated the place beautifully to propose to Yaya. I do. I mean, it is like the old like sitcom kind of trope, right? I
Hmm.
do think it's funny how like Johnny's already like starting the proposal like as the door's
Hmm.
opening, as opposed to like waiting for her to walk in and he's on the one knee. But it's fine. Where do you think Johnny got the two violinists and cellist?
He probably goggled um,
Yeah,
you know, like
I like to
string
think
band for hire or something.
they're like playing somewhere, and he's like, can I borrow you guys for a couple hours?"
That's not even a bad like thought. Like he went by like a nice restaurant or something and
Yeah,
he's just like went in, threw him some cash and said, "Hey, will you come and
there you
play for
go.
my proposal?"
If Kyle got his extra sequence of Johnny looking at venues, he's looking at like a really nice restaurant, and
Hmm.
there's like these people playing. He's like, "Hey, I got an idea. Can you come with me for a little bit?"
Yeah,
I'll
and I like that he like apparently hired them for the day because now they're gonna stay with him.
yeah, yeah. Let's see. Some of the observations I made inside the apartment. There is a "Will you marry me?" in balloon text. Kind of like it reminded me of like, "Will you go to prom with me?" So I thought that was really
Yeah.
cute. And there's like a ring balloon that was right
Hmm.
next to that.
Yeah.
Possibly Moet on ice. He does say his champagne, right? I think he calls it champagne
Hmm.
later. So
Hmm.
that was just kind of what it looked like. It was a little obscured. Um, and Yaya, she questions, you did all this? And you can see that she's very proud of what
Hmm.
Johnny has done. And she even apologizes for pressuring him earlier. So I do love this. Um,
Yeah.
the other
Wait,
bit I
I'll
have is that Johnny mentions that he went to Sid and got the ring, his
got
mom's
the
ring.
ring. Yeah.
So there you go. Sid is still kicking, you know?
Yeah, so let's see. Rosa apologizes for the pressure. But yeah, so I could see Rosa after seeing this because Rosa has kind of always liked Johnny and was kind of always nudging Carmen to Johnny for the most part. She was always the one that knew. But like I could see her after seeing this, everything he does. Yeah, she apologizes. I'm sure she still wants him to get married. She just apologizes for the pressure. But and of course, they get the phone call and Rosa's water breaks.
And
Television.
because it's Johnny and the Cobra Kai world, I did kind of like slightly consider like, will something go wrong? Will he forget to blow out one candle? And there is one candle that's kind of like just on the edge of the screen, and Johnny blows that out as he exits. I'm like, oh, thank God. Because the last thing we want is like another like apartment fire or something after they
Mhm.
just had like the pipes bust, in the early
Mhm.
episodes. Okay, so we cut to no, 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 back to the winery. Yep,
Mhm.
winery, and Winnie is reading tarot cards for Chosen. The first one's a something about severe loneliness. I forgot it was like something hermit. And then the death card basically predicting that Kreese is we're gonna die. Did you think that was kind of telling for us? Like that's a bit of a like a clue. Like, hey, like if these all play out, like two people are dying. Did
Well,
that even occur to you?
well, there's such a trope with tarot cards because it's always like they put the death card and go, "Oh no," and the person goes, "No, no, the death card is good. It means some your old past is gonna die and you'll have like a new right." And then Chosen makes a joke of it, and but then here they spin it. It's like, and she's like, "No, really, someone is gonna die.
Maybe two.
Maybe, yeah, maybe two people." Which I didn't even pick up originally, but yeah, maybe maybe more than one person. That it's like hinting at Crease and Silver, but like because I was always so focused on the just the spin on the that it's been done a million times with the
Right.
tarot cards. Like, oh no, death. It's like, no, 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 death card is good.
Right.
Like they do that joke every time, and they finally someone came in and just spun it, and it's like, no, no, actually, someone's gonna die. Shit.
Yeah, yeah. The reading itself is kind of channeling its like inner Hayden. Like, oh, two people are gonna die. Yeah, like, yeah, right. Okay.
It's true.
Um,
I like that.
yeah. It would have been even funnier is because we do see like the card, it's like a Grim
Mhm,
Reaper. Like if
mhm.
they put like a subtle like ponytail on it, we can go back and be like, oh, it was right there the whole time, a guy in black with a silver ponytail. Um, let's see. Okay, so we cut to Robbie. He's pacing back and forth inside Miyagi-Do. Um, Interesting question I put down here. Do you think any of the kids has ever tried speaking to Miyagi's picture the way Daniel does? Because that's what I was kind of wondering at first. I was like, why is Robbie in here? Did he just
Maybe
excuse himself
Sam. I mean, I
briefly?
I would
Okay.
just say Sam is the only one.
Only because she knows him.
She
That's
knew
his
him,
grandpa.
right?
Yeah.
Right. Like, how often do you speak to pictures of people you've never met, even if it happened to be someone you admire? Let's say, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, yeah,
I
a
would say
family member.
Sam. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's see here. Miguel comes in and clearly Robbie is upset with the outcome and the percentages and all that stuff. Miguel is saying it's not about the numbers. You can beat Axel. And basically Miguel kind of channels his inner Johnny.
Hmm.
And it's so much so that Robbie even kind of points out, like, "Whoa, you kind of eerily how you sound like my father." And then Miguel mentions that they both failed math. So that's I thought that was really interesting. But maybe at some point Johnny may have failed math, but I feel well, I don't know. The 80s obviously was a different era, and I wouldn't be going to high school for like another 2 decades. But at least when I was going through school, and I know that it's changed since then as well because my son had different uh I'm forgetting the term, but I was only required 2 credits of math in high school to graduate,
Mm,
and when he went through school, he needed 3 years of math. So
three. Yeah.
yeah, so I don't know what it was. Obviously, in the 80s, every school district is different. So I'm like, okay, well, I guess that could still track. Like maybe Johnny only needed 2 credits, right?
Mhm.
Um, and in senior year, maybe he failed. Because I'm just like, how does that come up in a conversation between Johnny and Miguel?
I think Miguel's just guessing. Like I don't think they sat there and talked, about Johnny's course load in high school.
Or Johnny actually did math in front of them one day and they both looked at each other like, wait, I'm right.
It could be. Maybe Miguel
Yeah,
was always doing the books for Cobra Kai. You don't
there
know.
you go. Yeah, yeah. Um, let's see, both fail math. Okay, we go back to, do you have anything else for those two?
um, let's see. I can relate to Robbie's hopelessness, but you like how Johnny rubbed off on Miguel. Also, oh yeah, didn't Kyle mention this was Sholo's last scene that he filmed? Um,
Sholo's last scene was in the hospital.
oh okay, or oh okay.
Yeah.
But then
Um,
maybe one of his last scenes, like actually acting though, like
Yeah,
giving this
yeah. In
performance.
terms of
Yeah, like
acting, this would
yeah,
probably be it because like
mhm,
Miguel doesn't do much in the hospital, but I remember Kyle mentioning that like the emotions, like a lot of that was real too because it was
yeah,
Sholo's last day to film. Yeah,
mhm,
and I don't think we said it yet for those that are listening at home. Um, yeah, this was the last episode. The winery was the last thing filmed.
mhm,
Um, the Frank Helmer, the costume designer sequence was the last Atlanta cruise day.
mhm.
So a lot of lasts this whole episode. So
Yeah,
and I think this is out there, but the idea why this was filmed last and for it being Billy, they wanted an episode where like Johnny wasn't fighting, so that
yeah,
way he could
yeah.
focus on being
Billy wanted
director.
he wanted to do his fight scenes first without having to worry about directing.
Yeah,
So
maybe John Hurwitz mentioned that in my interview with them. Maybe. But yeah, someone did tell me that. Um, okay. Oh, and this is when Robbie tells Miguel, "Yes, Sensei." So like it was another one, and I think we might
mhm.
have already missed past the scene where Sam tells Tori that, unless that's coming up. It's when they're on the bleachers is when Sam tells Tori, so that might
I think
actually
that's coming up.
coming up. Okay, back to the winery. Real brief here. Daniel and Amanda, they've had 3 bottles of wine. Then they get the text that
Wait, did
Carmen's
we
with
get
the
Sam and
baby.
Tori at the bleachers? They should be there now.
That is, I have that. That was right before I did skip over it. Damn it. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Back to Sam and Tori at the arena. Tori talks about how her world turned upside down since her
Mhm,
mother died. She feels that she's lucky that Robbie's even still talking to her.
mhm,
And then she says something about Sam not understanding. She goes, and she admits that, well, she kind of does because she hasn't told Miguel about like the whole Okinawa thing. And so,
mhm,
um, they talk about that. And yeah, yes, sensei. So I think I was just skimming over my notes and I saw the yes sensei and just assumed it was Robbie telling Miguel that. But yeah,
mhm.
same thing with Sam Tutori. Do you have anything else to add to this for these two?
Um, I think Sam actively encouraging Tori to do what's best for her is a huge leap in their relationship. Yeah, so Sam is encouraging Tori to kind of do what's best for her, and so it's really come a long way. She's not being selfish. She's thinking of the other person, and thinking about what would be the best for the other person, not what's the best for you for the other person to do, but what's truly the best for her.
Yeah.
And it's genuine. She wants what's best for Tori. And at this point, and she's right, so her suggestions are right for what's Tori.
Mhm.
So it's just, in a way, it's really wrapping up
Their
what we've
friendship.
had here in this season. from 603, in the massive changes in their relationship. It's sort of like the capstone on that.
Mhm. Let's see. Back to the winery. Daniel and Amanda's had 3 bottles of wine. They get the text about Carmen's having the baby. And then we go back to Miyagi-Do and we have we see that the small talk from Miguel seemed to have worked. You see much more confidence in Robbie and the binary senseis. They discuss it. Does so weird to say, but they said it, not me. I'm just continuing that. They discuss kind of visitation rights or whatever with each other in the school schedules for
Well,
the summer.
I
I
think
thought,
that, yeah, they're like splitting up the holidays
right,
like a
right.
married couple. Like,
Right. I thought it was,
yeah.
lack of a better word, I thought it was cute. I was just like, listen to them talking about visitation. Anyway, we go to Carmen at the hospital. Johnny arrives and finds out that they still have time before the baby comes. And this is when Johnny asks her, how does she feel? And I love how Vanessa Rubio plays it. She admits she's a little scared, but it's the way she says it. She's like, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little scared, Johnny. Like she's come to terms with it, like I am scared. And also, like Miguel is what, 17? And so like it's been like 18 years, and so like she's having to do this all over again. And so a lot of emotions, right? And the baby's coming and
Right.
all of that. But yeah, again, like everybody's just really bringing it with their A game in the final season, like all the final season. Tori from part one through now, and or I guess Peyton, but we haven't seen Vanessa very much up until part three, and so I love what we're getting from her here. Johnny proposes, and she says yes. And I love how everybody was kind of waiting outside, like, well, if she says no, I guess we just leave.
Yeah, I was
So,
just take off.
yeah. So let's just wait. We don't want any pressure on anybody. But so he's like, hey guys, come on in. And then we see like the musicians come
The
in playing "Take
musicians
My
go in.
Breath Away." Yep,
It's
a
a
little
good
callback.
Johnny moment. I like it. When I talk about this being a happy episode, he's just like he calls him in. It's such a Johnny moment.
Yeah, it's really great. What's even more great is this when, let's see, Daniel took yeah. So this is when uh Bobby comes in, starts to officiate, and I just love like the meta-ness. Is that a word?
Hmm.
The speech that he gives, and then we cut to like Dimitri and Hawk are kind of play fighting. Then we see Tori and Sam training as well, and like the word the marrying of these two also kind of mirror like pairings of each of the students. So I love the setup of that. Again, great directing. Hey, Billy.
Yeah.
Um,
There's a brief moment when Bobby, he
oh
pats
yeah,
Daniel on the shoulder when he comes in.
hey, yep,
I know people wanted more. You get what you get. But you can see a little bit of relationship between them.
yeah. That's the thing. Like if the creators, was able to, they would all the little moments that we wanted, we would have gotten because they are fans too. It's just like
Mhm.
they did the best that they could, and
Yeah.
bringing on like an actor, you know, uh, that costs more money. Like if you give them more
Yeah.
lines or
Mhm.
more scenes, more
Mhm.
episodes, more money, and so then you have to start kind of chiseling away from other things. So. I think it was great, and if even like when everybody's in the waiting room, like, whoa, why couldn't Daniel and Bobby talk there? It's like, well, they got Silent Lucidity playing, but
Yeah.
also, everyone's kind of playing the waiting game, and I don't know if you want to kind of undercut the moment with just like this little aside. Which would actually be a little bit more fan service. So I think
Yeah.
that little touch, the little acknowledgement, I thought was great.
Yeah.
Um,
They're very efficient with their
Yes,
use of time and honestly what are you going to do that you could exchange three or four lines back and forth, but it's not really going to make the show better.
yeah.
And you get it. It's there in the with the quick touch. You get the same effect.
And I think this expression applies here as well. Less is more, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Um,
I believe that a lot.
yeah.
So
And I was just thinking like for those that listen to the Sensei Ron Thomas interview,
Mhm.
I don't remember if he actually um like outright suggested this out loud to those involved in this episode, but he did share like, oh, he had this idea like, what if Bobby tapped Daniel's knee with his Bible. It's like, hey, how's the knee or something like that. And like I would like that too, but I think what we ended up getting was perfect. I thought that was
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
yeah. So it's just those little things like, yeah, well, that would have been cool. I probably would have liked it, probably would have laughed, but
Mhm.
yeah, I like the way it kind of ended and with the song, because we already also have like um this little dialogue between Daniel and Amanda in the hallway too, and um I kind of I was thinking like, well, this isn't really like these last moments of Daniel and Amanda together, but it kind of is because in the finale, it's a little bit different because they are together, but that's them as parents. Like this is talking about them.
Right.
And something that I thought was very interesting, Daniel says, next phase is full of unknowns. Do you
Mhm.
think there was a little something to that too?
I
Like
didn't
like outside of the
think
Miyagi
about.
verse, outside of
Uh,
Cobra Kai, next phase is full of unknowns.
I guess
But
you can interpret that however you want.
right, right. That's how they do it on this show. Everything's left to interpretation.
Yeah.
Yeah, close out on Silent Lucidity, and we get the end snake. Did you? Oh, well, I mean, obviously, we meet baby Laura. She has her um Johnny's mother's name.
Yeah.
Did you have any other notes from this episode?
Well, let me see here. Just looking at the final scene here. Um, like how Johnny proposed. Um, Oh, okay. It's interesting because I even wrote a note on how I wrote the note because I wrote I like how Johnny proposed, and when I wrote that I actually originally wrote apologizes, and I was like, wait, no, he's not apologizing, he's proposing, and I was out of force of habit, like because
That's
Johnny's always like, oh, I'm sorry, I messed up, but
that's hilarious.
no, yeah, I out of force of habit I wrote
Did you have
apologize.
AI take your notes for you? Like it's just
No,
you
no, it
you
was
to Johnny
me.
apologizing.
AI would be far more efficient. But yeah, he calls in the strings. Yeah, it's a perfect move for him. I just love like it's like classic Johnny, but like in a different way because we're so used to the badass or like the 80s or like doesn't get it stuck in the 80s way. But like instead it's like his badass with the boom, he brings in the strings and the family and everyone. Um
Shows
yeah,
growth.
Bobby's little sermon over the montage of everyone is really perfect. He's like, this is one badass family. Yeah, yeah, maybe the most moving montage in the series.
Yeah, yeah, I
Yeah, and
agree.
it's like I clapped, I was happy. I know maybe some people say, "Oh, I shed a tear." I didn't do that. Like to me, it was more like I'm excited. I'm like, "Hell yeah, it's awesome!" So I clapped and cheered. So that's
Yeah.
that's what the reaction from me.
All right. As always, I solicited feedback from the group. And let's see, the first comment, we got a few here. The first comment comes from Persephone. She asks, how did the musicians get back into the apartment to get their instruments? They walked out without them when Johnny and Rosa went to the hospital. Oh, you know what? I bet you it was a cutscene. It was a cutscene. They were waiting outside. They're like, oh, we need our instruments. He opens it back up. They get it, then off
They
they
got
go.
their instruments from the same place Johnny's going to get those black keys. You always carry a spare.
That's right. Yeah, from Greece, I guess. Um, the next one comes from Dorian. He says, "Such a fun episode. Billy delivered the goods in directing this episode and brought out such memorable moments with
Mhm.
the actors, such as Sam and Tori opening up to each other. Rappi's, I think he means VR training that allowed the actors to have fun, and of course, the birth of baby Laura. Well done, Billy. Please direct more films and shows." Yeah, 100%. I agree with
I
that.
I would agree. Yeah, give
Yeah,
us
great.
more Billy
Please.
directing.
The next one comes from Randy C. He says, there's so much to love about this episode, which is in no small part due to amazing writing and direction. For the All Valley Board, do any of them have any actual martial arts training? It seems odd that the A board of people presiding over a karate tournament wouldn't have anyone trained in karate or at least some sort of martial art and have a chance to standing up to Gunther. It's funnier that way. They don't.
Well, yeah, I do that. I always thought they were just former fighters, like from high school, who just moved on to other jobs. I mean,
Yeah.
sort of like Daniel, except Daniel at least kept up with it a little bit.
Kind of like
Um,
Ron, he's
yeah,
this is on the side, but he's actually a dentist, and so
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
different but same.
Hmm.
Um, it's yeah, that's but you know what? But that's life, right? I
Hmm.
mean, with my employer, we're kind of going through this whole stuff with like federal changes and whatnot. It's just like you have people that never even did what I did, try to make like big changes that it's going to affect like thousands of people. It happens, sadly,
It happens in every job,
everything.
whether it's government or business. Trust me. So,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
yeah,
He continues. Also, I guess there's the suspension of disbelief that Johnny was able to accomplish so much in a single day, a cooking class, swiping roses from someone, having a suit fitting, setting up the apartment, and hiring a string quartet. Johnny was surely overachieving here. Hey, and you know what? No, Rosa noticed. So well done,
she
Billy
did.
or Johnny. Yeah. But yeah, talked about all of
Mhm.
those. Yeah. Was it
Mhm.
one afternoon? Eh, maybe a couple days. And even that's kind of like, all right, well, that's, you
If you
know,
were to imagine the timeline is a little jumping around a little bit, and like while Daniel and Amanda and Chosen are in Ohio, but like the Johnny storyline is actually over a couple of, go for it, you know?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, let's see. Even though it was just a brief bit, I have to believe that Patrick Lewis had a blast acting as Miguel, but I've got to call BS on the aspect of this training. As Axel is so much taller than Miguel, even if this was effective in the moment, Robbie would have to completely recalibrate his moves for someone much taller at the real match. Also, are we to believe that Miguel can accurately recreate Axel's moves? I didn't think of it earlier, but I also bet that this training might have also given Miguel an edge at his eventual match with Axel, as he could draw from his experience of being Axel and becoming a little bit more predictive of his moves. That's a really great
That's a
point.
good
And
take. Yeah. Hmm.
yeah, I do like what he had to say, the louder point. But yeah, I agree with that first point too. Yes, Miguel is significantly shorter. So
Yeah. And maybe that's why ultimately Robbie can't fully capitalize on it. So
that could be it. Yeah.
mhm.
Oh, excuse me.
The Binary
Uh,
Brothers needed to add like stilts or something for Miguel to make him
right,
taller.
right. Or at least like, I mean, I don't know how you would kind of do that with the image. Sorry, my throat. I wish I had water with me. Um,
I'll take a sip
but
in your honor.
thank you. Yeah, it's working. It's working. Keep doing.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I think like maybe if you're able to kind of like cast some shadow in the height difference between what well, I guess no, that wouldn't be because Axel's taller, so it'd have to be like a silhouette of Miguel or something. But yeah, that's it. That's all kind of BS. But the Binary Brothers, we're not really supposed to really understand understand this. I mean, they have the Matrix like as their background or something,
Right. Hmm.
right? Um, Let's see. And he ends it with that final portion was also filled with so many wonderful musical cues from the string quartet playing Berlin's Take My Breath Away to the use of Queensryche's Silent Lucidity. I hope I said that right. Silent Lucidity as a lullaby to little Laura. Yeah, that's that song. Like I didn't know it, and after a few viewings, like I really really enjoy that song now. So
Hmm.
I do love that Cobra Kai has introduced me to like songs I don't hear at all. Like I often listen to like an 80s kind of like radio station like on shuffle and it's like it's the same shit all the time. So like the more obscure
Yeah.
stuff I'm never gonna hear. And so I'm so appreciative of the insertions of these songs. And we're gonna get one in like episode 14 that I originally thought that was like a score from like Zach and Leo. Then I found out it was like an actual pop song. So okay, so thank you, Randy, for that. And the last bit comes from Ron. He says, one of my favorite moments in the whole series happened in this episode, and it was just the quick but friendly hey between Pastor Bobby and Daniel. Ever since the show started, I wondered how any of the other OG Cobras would react when seeing Daniel. Would they be friendly or react more like Johnny did? That brief greeting in this episode, wait, yeah, that brief greeting in this episode was loaded with implications and possibilities. Maybe Bobby and Daniel became friends while they were still in high school. Maybe Bobby bought cars from Daniel over the years. Maybe the LaRussos have been to Bobby's church. Whatever it is, you get the feeling this isn't the first time they've seen each other since 1984, and that their interactions over the years must have been positive. Thank you, Ron, for that. I don't
Yeah.
remember who shared this, but somebody had mentioned maybe it was Ron Thomas, but something about like, well, Daniel sells cars, so like commercials and whatnot, and then Bobby has a church like in the community, so the
Hmm.
paths may not have crossed, but there's no way that they like have completely missed each other like over these years. At some points, like like Daniel's commercials, right? Daniel's
Hmm.
billboards, so Bobby must be like, oh, that guy's still around, and he's obviously
Hmm.
moved on. We knew him as the kind of like the conflicted Cobra and all that. So, but yeah, and maybe, but that hate does seem a little bit more, like in my mind, and I don't know, and I know I'm not the writer, but in my mind, I was, it took me back to like, hey, sorry about that knee back then. Like that's where it took me. I
Hmm.
really didn't think any further than that. Did you?
Um, I think it goes on the theory. At one point there was an idea of like having Bobby and Daniel be friends, or like that they were even training together. Like obviously that never happened in like Karate Kid 2 and such. But like I think it's sort of playing on that idea. Well, maybe it did. It just was never seen. You know. So at some point they at least they're on friendly terms.
Right. Okay, and that concludes the feedback. And so, yeah, we have three more episodes to go. And if anybody wants to leave feedback, comments, questions, you guys can do so in the Facebook group under the Companion Network. What part you got anything that you're working on? We know that your hands are completely full, so
I have a stream with Cobra Kai Kid. Um, Maybe it'll have happened by the time you hear this, Friday, May 2nd in the evening. And we're going to be talking about his documentary he's working on, Kai Hearts. So,
yeah,
and, we'll go in through that and maybe talk some, season 6 at the finale too.
nice. Yeah, and I will myself tune in if at the very least go back and rewatch that if I miss it. So.
Mhm.
Um, and for me, that's still finishing up Cobra Kai. And for those that are either interested or did not know that the other show that I'm covering, Twisted Metal, show run by former writer and producer on Cobra Kai, Michael Jonathan Smith. He show runs Twisted Metal. Season 2 has been announced for the end of July of this summer, July 31st. So
Mhm.
me and Tyler over there we haven't we just put up like an update episode for like season 2 with some new casting announcements and stuff. So we're still finishing up our season 1 stuff, and we won't be resuming that until after Cobra Kai. So still got some months on that if you guys want to check that out over there. It's on Peacock, Twisted Metal. It's a lot of fun. It's weird. It's kooky. It's silly. And it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it is a fun
Yeah,
show, definitely. Even if you didn't play the game, which I didn't,
right.
but I enjoyed
Yeah.
the show.
Yeah. So yep, that's
Anthony
gonna
Mackie, yeah, it's with good stars. So yeah, good
a
stuff
lot of
there.
good stars.
Yeah.
And I briefly met Patty Guggenheim, who is playing like a different version of Raven in season 2 because Nev Campbell played the first Raven. We find out that they're two different Ravens. We don't know why or how yet, but I met her briefly after Paley Fest. She was performing at the Groundlings and left a ticket under my name for me, and so I got to see her. Met her briefly. Great vibes. I can't wait to see what she does in season 2 because she'll be a brand new character. But just yeah, seemed like a very lovely person. Just a brief moment we met there. So yep, the next episode will be 13 skeletons. So catch you guys on the next episode. And
Hmm.
until then, welcome to the Valley, Laura. Your brothers and I are gonna bring you home a trophy.